My name is Riley Duval, and I ride Fearless. I am Kelly Tillin, and I ride Fearless. My name is Stetson Jorgensen, and I ride Fearless.
My name is Latricia, and I ride Fearless.
I'm Hayes Way, and I ride Fearless.
My name is Dexter Hall, and I ride Fearless.
My name is Cole Bates, and I fight Fearless.
I'm Ford J. Smith. I ride Fearless. Always have and always will.
Hello, Las Vegas, and welcome to the Ride Fearless Show. I am your show host, Sydney Blanchard, and you are watching Ride Fearless with NFR qualifier Latricia Duke, as well as elite rehab specialist for the equine industry. All of the pro horses that you watch at the NFR, she makes it happen. Her name is Kimmi Byler. But first, let's hear from our opening artist, Chaser Crouch. Chaser, thank you so much for opening the most fearless show in Las Vegas.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I kind of grew up in the horse world. My dad's a cutting horse trainer back home in Texas, and everybody in my family's been a part of this. This amazing sport and this riding horses and everything. So I grew up doing it, and I figured I wanted to start a different career because that wasn't my. I loved riding and doing all that, and music kind of took off for me, and that's what I decided I wanted to do, and started writing music about my experiences of showing horses, and I'm just glad I can merge it all together.
You might as well sing about it.
Yeah,
then.
that's what I'm better at doing, is singing about it.
Is there a song today that has a special meaning to you that we're going to hear from you today?
There is. Actually, both of these songs I'm going to play for y'all. This first one I'm going to play, I wrote this one. It was the third song I ever wrote and put out there, and it's called Born to Ride. And that comes, from my background, growing up showing horses. I showed cutting horses. My mom, she was a breakaway roper. My dad, he's a cutting horse trainer. My grandfather was a bulldogger from Chakota, Oklahoma. Ran around with some of the greats. He trained bulldogging horses and had a really good bulldogging team. So it's crazy to think that I'm here at the NFR singing this song that I wrote about my lifestyle, and it means so much to me. And I get to share it with y'all now, especially when I ride Fearless. The song works. It's perfect for it.
Well, I'm excited to hear about your deep rodeo roots right here on the Ride Fearless Show.
One time, back on the road to the next rodeo. It's not about the fame, it's not about the glory. It's all about the buckle at the end of the story. From San Antonio to Amarillo, they'll pack me soon to the Houston rodeo. She's burning bright with a fire in her eyes. She's chasing those dreams in her headlights. Yeah, she was born to ride. This cowboy chaser every chance I can. So give me one night, then she's off again. Her heart's beating by the thrill of the game. She's hard to tame. From San Antonio to Amarillo, Waiting so to the Houston rodeo. She's burning bright with a fire in her eyes. She's chasing those dreams in her headlights. Yeah, she was born to ride. town, Amarillo. They'll bang her soul to the Houston rodeo. She's burning brown with a fire in her eyes. She's chasing those dreams. From San Antonio to Amarillo, they'll bang her soul to the Houston rodeo. She's burning brown with a fire in her eyes. She's chasing those dreams in her headlights. My baby's born to ride. She was born to ride. My baby's born to ride. Thank you, thank you. This next song, we're gonna slow it down a little bit here. I picked this song up a couple years back, and I just finally got it recorded and released for all y'all to listen to. But a guy sent me this song. He's a Nashville songwriter. He said he was sitting in his office one morning, and he heard me on the radio. And he said, "That's the voice I want for this song." And he sent that song to me. And the first line of the song, I knew this song was mine. This song's called "When Cowboys Die," and it reminds me so much of my grandfather. There's a night wind just blowing from out of nowhere, cold as November. It's the second week of June, and I can't tell you why the cloud just drifted by, drowning out the fire of a blood red moon. When cowboys die, the angels cry. No dogs know, you can see it in their eyes. Robes and saddles, gown dust, spurs and pistols turn to rust, and the stars fall from the midnight sky. When cowboys die. His old man ain't in the barn, she's on the prairie. She felt him lean, and in her heart somehow she knew they never ride another highline trail together, or never sing another campfire song like Chris would do. When cowboys die, the angels cry. No dogs know, you can see it in their eyes. Robes and saddles, gown dust, spurs and pistols turn to rust, and the stars fall from the midnight sky. When cowboys die. When cowboys die, the angels cry. Old dogs know, You can see it in their eyes. Robes and saddles gathering dust, spurs and pistols turn to rust, and the stars fall from the midnight sky. When cowboys die.
Give it up for Chaser Crouch, everybody. That was wonderful. I specifically,
Thank you.
he's gonna turn that off. You'll have to come to me. Come to me. I specifically really enjoyed the Born to Ride song.
Thank you. Yeah, that one's it's probably one of our favorite ones to play, or one of my favorite ones to play, just because, I mean, I wrote, that was one song I wrote fully, pretty much by myself, and you know, I mean, it does. It talks about my background. It talks about how I grew up on the road every weekend. I mean, I used to tell people when I was little, when they asked where I lived, I tell them I lived in a horse trailer at the horse shows. I mean, that's we were gone every weekend. That's what we did. So that's where we lived. We barely saw home.
It's rodeo life.
Oh yeah, yes ma'am.
Well, it's gonna be my new theme song.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm glad y'all like it.
Where will we find you next?
Next, you'll find me, well, you have to go back to Texas to find me. But you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok at Chaser Crouch Music. Give me a like, share, follow. Everything helps, and I greatly appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you singing with us today. I greatly appreciate you. I'm very excited to download that song, and we'll see you next time for sure.
Yes, ma'am. We'll
Give it up one more time for Chaser Crouch. I'm sure everybody is ready to ride Fearless today with our guests, and we're going to have a wonderful elite equine specialist. She is the specialist to the NFR horses here at the NFR during the entire year. Please give it up for Kimmi Byler. Kimmi has brought several of my NFR horses back for me, and I don't know what I would do without her. If they breathe wrong, I'm on the phone. She's on speed dial Kimmi, and I can even be at my vet and I say, oh, I need to call Kimmi, and they go, who's that? I'm like, who's that? How do you not know?
So I've been blessed. I grew up with two great uncles that were racetrack vets out of Arizona, and I decided not to take the path of going through vet school, and then decided to go the path for rehabilitation and conditioning because I saw it was a field that was lacking. Veterinarians don't put as much emphasis into the condition and rehab side of things, so that's where my path lied after college.
I've always felt like veterinarians have so much knowledge in everything that they have to put in their bag in order to help such a broad spectrum of people that there almost needs to be specializations for every specific thing that could potentially be going on. And what would you say your specialization is?
So I cover everything from the arena to bringing stuff out that the vets can't find. There's stuff that happens. We have a great vet in Texas called Dr. Cliff Honest. He was actually the teaching vet at Texas A&M. He uses our pool, like you saw in the video earlier, when there's a diagnostics that he cannot find. He's flexing that horse off. He's watching videos from the owners. And when there's something that he can't see to find the lameness, but the owners and him both know that there's something going on, I'm able to use the pool and the tools that we have at our facility to pinpoint where that lameness is. And it's kind of unique in the fact that we were discussing it earlier about that in the veterinary industry. You're right. You have a vet that has to cover A to Z on a horse. But in the human industry, you go to a cardiologist for your heart. You go to a podiatrist. There's, a dietitian. We have respiratory doctors. But a vet has to cover all of that A to Z. And so that's where I think I've been able to, in the last 30 years of my business, fill the gap. I built a horse swim in the year 2000, and it just was kind of one of those things that people were kind of like, you're building what? And since then, I've sold my pool plans, sold my designs. 3 of the major vet clinics in Texas actually have my pool. I trained their staff. I trained the actual vets. Colorado State. So what we've done is we've tried to expand out the fact that the vets were not specializing. They were having to cover A to Z, and now we're putting that implication in there that they need to have rehab, they need to have condition, and they need to follow up with the different points that they are seeing with these horses.
With these horses, these elite animals, like at the NFR, the other events that you help with, what would you say the main thing is that you're seeing and having to take care of?
So probably the biggest thing that I see right now this year, so we had a huge outbreak of EHV1 at the women's finals at Waco, Texas. The women's professional finals has their finals at Waco during the elite barrel race. It's team ropers, it's breakaway ropers, it's barrel racers. It's not just barrel horses that were there. And so what happened is they figured that there was ground zero horse came in and was in what they call a shed period of the disease, which is EHV1, or which later goes into EHM, which is the neurological. What people don't understand is EHV1, horses are exposed to it daily throughout your travels, yearly. Every horse on my place, I can say that everything older than our weanlings has all been exposed to it. What people don't understand about it is that it is your immune system and what's processed through your immune, no different than all of us during COVID. So there was a horse that was positive, no different when you think of COVID. There was somebody that was in the middle of the symptoms. They were fever, they were shedding. So when this happens and you have a horse in the middle of shedding, it is exposure to all the other horses around it. It goes airborne. It's not just if your horse rubbed up against it. It's not if your horse walked over and licked the pipe that horse was just tied to. It is airborne. And so when I say that it was airborne, I can even testify that there was a client of ours, Britta Strange. She has no problem with me talking about the story. She was there at the women's finals for the week. She was roping. She's made the college national finals in the breakaway. She's also made the American in the barrels. She was there with her 3 horses. Eleanor, her breakaway horse, George, her barrel horse, and her other barrel horse, Golden Cloud. I can tell you that she roped all week long. Those horses were stalled there, never left that area. And when we got a call from her on Sunday that she wanted the George horse, the big buckskin, to be picked up and to be brought down to our facility to be conditioned and rehabbed. He wasn't sick or anything like that. She just wanted him in for conditioning and then basically getting tuned up. So we arrived to pick him up on Sunday. The horse was bright-eyed, showed no symptoms, no signs of anything. We loaded him on our personal trailer, took him back to our facility. Mind you, at this time I had several NFR horses standing in our barns that were getting ready to come out here, along with junior NFR contestants. We rode him every single day, swam everything. The following week, now this is the full week and 2 days prior to when we had picked him up, we get a call from Britta. That morning, Eleanor, her breakaway horse, had died.
Oh, wow. That's awful.
So when you get that call from an owner, your first is compassion. Your first is like, okay. Then you got to step into the cause and then going proactive and looking around and seeing what do we need to do to ensure that the horses that are on site at my location and the locations around where other horses have been. So we go out and we start doing the conference calls. I got on the phone with Dr. Hans. I was on different conference calls with several of the state vets, along with the vets that were working out of state, because we did have clients that had already picked up horses to head out here to the NFR. So temp checks start immediately. Not a single horse on our place was showing any temperature. Secondary, we do what we call a leg check. We went through every horse's leg and we do what a palpation is. We go down and we see if there's any pitted edema in any of those 4 limbs on the horse. That is the secondary that we will see in those horses. Then we back up from there, and then we check nasal passages, and we start seeing any drainage. Then we also check urinary tracts. You'll see on a gelding a lot of times, they'll be acting like they're having a hard time peeing. A mare, they'll be kind of stretching out like they do when they're in their cycle, and they're going to be acting like they want to pee or that they're winking, but they're actually not getting anything out because it does start to affect their bladder. So we go through this process. At the same time, I get a call back from Britta. By then, within like 3-4 hours of her losing Eleanor, her other barrel horse, Golden Cloud, had turned neurologic. So her horse, first that passed away was the breakaway horse, was full neurologically passed away. Second horse, within 4 hours, started showing the neurological signs. So immediately then, we had already quarantined George, the horse that we picked up from her. We go back out and we put cameras on him from all different angles so that we can watch and that we can be recording every movement on him. And we start processing tip checks on him, and then we do a swab test, and then we also draw blood on him. Secondary thing was we started immediately pulling IV fluid bags out. We mixed IVs with DMSO and vitamins immune. We're trying to fight off bring everybody's immune system, and so we can fight viral down. Started oral vitamin E, and we started intramuscular vitamin C. So that was our protocol as of that Tuesday. That was literally a week and 2 days after those horses were fully exposed at Waco. But if you back up to the day that those horses arrived at Waco, those horses were at Waco as early as Tuesday and Wednesday. So to say that this is one of those things that really kind of drags out, it does. Don't stick to that typical classification of that it's a 14-day and you're done. So when we started through that process.
Well, okay. Now I feel like maybe we're a little nervous. I'm a little nervous now because everybody has already come here and they are competing at the Junior World Finals. They are competing at the World Series. What are the precautions that people should be taking if they already have their horses here?
So again, it all goes back to your immune system. You and I, everybody standing here survived through COVID. What got us all through COVID was our immune system. Whose body could fight it off? So when you think of your horse, the same thing. Having your horse's gut needs to be healthy. That's a first intake on a lot of those horses, is that if they're ulcerated, if they're packing ulcers on that tummy, they're going to be a high stress. They're going to be one of those horses that is going to be more prone to picking up a viral. Nasal passage, are those horses stressed? Are they tired? Their immune system has to be top notch. And those are the horses that have been able to fight it off. We can proudly say that George never had any symptoms. We don't know why certain horses' immune system, it's just like humans. You can take a horse that's 25 years old that is standing there and he can fight it off better than a 2-year-old. It all boils down to what their body's capable and the antibodies that are in their system.
Is there any last advice on this specific subject for the public here today?
So the biggest thing on the EHV one that I can tell everybody to do is just be knowledgeable about where your horses are at, be knowledgeable about your horse's health, be a little bit more in tune to what your horse's health is, be a little bit more in tune to like what you're feeding, how you're feeding it, and the process that your horse is taking to get to set locations and relieving that horse of a little bit of the excess stress.
Again, if you weren't here at the beginning, we have Kimmi Byler here today. She is an elite equine specialist. She has brought back and done rehab on many, many, many NFR world champion horses. If you have any questions, we do have a mic down here. Just walk up to it and we'll turn it on and you'll be able to ask any of our wonderful guests today their questions. I do see that our other guest is here. So we have WPRA qualifier, barrel racing qualifier, Latricia Duke. You guys will have to share a mic.
I was fearless in the cab on the way over here.
Were you yelling at that cab driver like, we have somewhere to be?
I was like, I'm late, let's be fearless.
Well, I'm glad that, the fearless atmosphere, the fearless saying is rubbing off on you.
It was real.
Okay, Latricia is here today. She competed at the NFR last year in the barrel racing on Vanilla Wafer, one of our favorite stallions to watch. And you were in the top 20 or about top 20 in the world when you decided to retire him in the fall. What happened?
Well, I said going into this year, he's only 8 years old and he's always been sound. And as much as I love rodeoing on him, and I love the sport of rodeo as much as anybody, I said that this was it for him, and he could live out the rest of his life being a breeding stallion, no matter what this year held for us. And he took a bad stumble at Spanish Fork, and at that point I was in the top 15 and everything was going as planned. And then he just kind of started leaning on me to the second, and I could just feel something wasn't right. I mean, when you spend that much time with one, you know when things aren't right. And he would limp a little after I would run back to the trailer, and then by the time the vet would get there to look at him, he was sound. And so we went through that a couple of times, so I flew my vet out to look at him, and I was making the short go at Ellensburg. What an honor just to even make the short go at Ellensburg, and I went to Byler, and he came out probably a grade 2, and I'll cry again. I looked at my son, Bravid, that shoes him, and I said, that's it, we're going home. And we loaded up, and we went home, and all he needed was 2 weeks off. I mean, he'd straightened some stuff in his speed. It was nothing major, but you know as well as anybody at Byler, you don't have 2 weeks. I mean, you don't have 2 weeks to give them off, and that horse has given me 100% from, he placed in the slot race as a 3-year-old. And so, I love him more than I loved another trip to the NFR. The vets told me I could shockwave him and we could probably get here. It wasn't in me to do that. I wasn't going to mask anything. And so we didn't shockwave him, and I loaded up and I cried all the way home. And but I have a happy, healthy stallion ready to make baby vanilla wafers, and so we have 2-year-olds, and they're doing amazing, and I'm excited to get on those.
I really commend you for that, because it sounds, I think, from the outside looking in, like it would be a really easy decision to make, to decide to not make the NFR when you are on the bubble. Decide to go home, and I've been in the scenario both ways, where I knew my horse was sore, pushed through it, and made it. I still had a sore horse come Vegas, so and then also made the decision, you know what, let's go home. And I think that if you are here at the NFR as a barrel racer, you're here because you have a unique relationship with your horse, and that is what makes you elite. That makes you one of the best of the best. And so we, as competitors, we just have to trust our intuition with our animals and understand that we make every single decision for them when it comes to their health and safety.
Yeah, I would love to sit up here and say if he would have been a Gildan, I would have made the same decision. I'm not holier than thou. I don't know. I've had people ask me this year with the situation like it is with the EHB, what I've brought him. I can't really make that choice because I didn't qualify. So I'm not one of those 15 girls having to make that decision. I've talked to most of them before they got here and told them I'm behind you 100%, whether you're the girl that takes your horse or you're the girl that leaves your horse at home. I'm a maturity horse trainer by trade. The rodeo just happened because of Vanilla Wafer, and I fell in love with the sport of rodeo. I'd always been in love with the sport of barrel racing, but along the way I fell in love with the sport of rodeo, and I can say I thought I knew those horses, those great horses that I had trained in the past, be it Duke or Firewater on the Rocks, or all those horses that made the NFR, you know, that went on after me and made the NFR, were great animals, and I loved them. I mean, I bawled like a baby when they left, but I've never known a horse like you learn a horse when you rodeo. You go live 4 months in a horse trailer with nothing but your horse as your best friend, and I knew that something wasn't right. And to be honest, him limping that night after I ran was a huge deciding factor, but more than that, that horse will walk. I mean, I could walk the pattern at a rodeo. I could walk the pattern at the NFR during a perk. I mean, he's just that kind of horse. And he got nervous in the back. and he had never gotten that kind of nervous before. And you know, it's little things like that, like to sit out there and say your horse got nervous, so you went home and you skipped a chance at the NFR. No, that wasn't my horse. And when I could feel his heart pounding between my legs, I knew it was over.
Something wasn't quite right. And Vanilla Wafer isn't the only horse successfully that you have trained. Tell us a little bit about some of the other horses that you've trained that have accomplished big things.
You know, as a horse trainer, I have to say that great horses make great horse trainers. But, you know, be it horses that have gone on and won WPRA World Championships or won the average out here, those horses were special, and they were special from day one, and you kind of know that, and you try just not to mess them up. But, true. But I'll never take credit, and I never would have before, but now after rodeoing, I will never take credit for those girls teaching those horses to be rodeo horses. There's a big... I thought that a winner was a winner. I mean, they're a winner. You teach them to handle the ground and teach them that the flags aren't going to hurt them and the bulls aren't going to hurt them, and they're a barrel horse. And they were a barrel horse. Those big jackpot horses I've had, they were barrel horses and they were real. But it takes a special individual to leave your house in the end of May and not even know where home is until the first week of October. Those horses are special. It doesn't make them better horses. It makes them rodeo horses. And rodeo horses are a special breed. And I can probably make a lot of people mad. I think there's probably 75 real rodeo horses in the world. You know, they're not a dime a dozen. And so those girls that took those horses and kept them sound and kept them happy and kept them craving to win when they ran in the rain and the hail and the tornado sirens going off and the chuck wagons and all of that. I mean, that is, to keep a horse happy in those situations where they spend, you know, you go to 7 rodeos in 5 days in 3 states. I mean, to keep a horse wanting to win through that, those girls that took those horses and rodeoed with them, they did more than I ever did by training them.
I don't know if they did more than you did by training them, but it is tough out there, and I honestly just think you create a relationship, they trust you, so when it's hailing, when the lightnings are strikes at Cheyenne, when the truck wagons are going by you at the alley here at the NFR, it's almost just like, if my jockey is okay, I'm okay, because they have that relationship with you. But beyond that, keeping them sound. So you and Kimmi have been friends for a very long time. I know that she's been a big part of your program, as she has mine. What does that look like for you throughout your successful career?
When last year, at the end of the year, I was on the bubble, and there was a call I had to make. I needed help. You can't do this by yourself. I mean, there's nobody can do this by themselves. And I qualified for Sioux Falls. Thank you, Jesus. But I needed a horse hauled to California so I could fly to California. And the first call I made was to Kimmi. And Kimmi had a lot going on. I mean, she has her own life and her own rehab and the twins. And she said, okay. And she picked up my horse and she loaded him up. And her and Crazy Ray went to California. And I flew out there every morning and ran in the slack. And then I got on a plane. The Busbys were amazing. Andrea and I were fighting for the same spot. And we flew out there every morning and flew back every night for Sioux Falls. And then when it came time, you know as well as anybody, when you get here, you don't really get to spend the kind of normal time that you do with your horse. And so you have to have people that you trust with the most important thing in your life at that point. And so Kimmi and my son Bravid were here, and they took care of Vanilla Wafer and my backup horses the whole time. And then when I had to come this year, as I said I was a has-been, I said I've got to go out and do has-been stuff. But the first call I made was to Kimmi and said, hey, will you go with me? Because she's amazing moral support. And I'm mentally not real strong. And barrel racing, that is my biggest fault. And I get in my own way because I'm not confident in what I do, like I should be. And Kimmy's pretty good at going, hey, you know, you got here, you deserve this, and I'll forever be grateful for that friend.
Wow, that's such a special relationship that you guys have, and I definitely want to swing back to this confidence. Well, because I think that from the outside looking in again, that people think if you're at the top of your game, then you're automatically confident, and that's definitely not the case. But let's hear from Kimmi about what is your experience when you're here helping people like Latricia and helping the other NFR qualifiers?
So whenever any of our families made it out here, or my close friends, the first thing I put together a go bag. And I mean, this is kind of funny, but it's got IV fluids in it, it's got vitamin shots in it, it's got GastroGuard, it's got ace bandages, it's got hoof pack. I basically put together a go pack, and that's my emergency bag. It's kind of like the EMT of horses. I can cover everything, antibiotics, you know, any scenario aside from a broken limb. I feel like I can, you know, I can nebulize albuterol. I've got everything covered top to bottom. And so coming out here, that's the biggest thing, because you never know from one year to the next if you're going to have freezing rain, snow. One of the years you made it out here, it was torrential. It was freezing cold.
I came out one year before my horses because the roads were closed, and then, you know, we have to be out here for all of our meetings and the back number ceremony and everything, and I'm just, you know, tapping my foot like I sure hope they make it.
Yeah. So that scenario that you got to think about is that all the weather that comes into play, all the changes that come into play, and the amount of days that those horses are out here in 10 rounds, from week 1 to week 2, things totally change up on these horses. And so my job is to make sure that my owners and whoever's caring for those horses has all the tools in their bag, so to speak, to take care of these horses.
We're so appreciative of you. So appreciative. We don't know what to do without Kimmi. Call Kimmi. So going back to this confidence, you know, as NFR qualifiers, world champions, you have trained a world champion barrel horse. You have trained many NFR qualified barrel horses. You have trained slot race champions. You have trained you have trained W Prairie World Finals champions. What do you think happens with our confidence? And how do you manage to climb back up that ladder and remember who you are?
I think probably I'm a really good coach. Like when girls that are prior to me making the finals, when they were making the finals, or they were right on the bubble, or things were bad, I'm a great coach, and I can coach you into thinking you're amazing. But I don't turn it around to myself very well. I think a lot of that has to do with training colts through the years, because you may be a slot race champion today and you may look terrible tomorrow. So I have a lot of trouble trusting my training. I mean, I'm just being honest. I wish I would love to sit up here and go, oh, trust your training and believe in yourself, and it's amazing.
It's gonna be fine.
And there are people that are that way, and I'm envious of those people. But the truth is, you can doubt yourself, and you can maybe not think that you're the best one in the group, and still put your faith in God, and put your faith in that He will pull you through those things, and He will get you there. Surround yourself with people that care about you. There was a time when I was young and I was really into being politically correct. Now I'm more about, I want my people around me, and I will help anybody at any time, but I can't be around negative, because it affects me in a negative way. And so I've learned a little bit through that. My son's very good at trying to build me up and tell me that he loves me even when it's bad. But you know, my team, I've had the same horse dentist for 30 years. I've had the same vet for 28 years now. Kimmy's a constant in my life. I have things that work for me, and I don't change those things, and that helps a lot, because I don't have to question anything except just myself. And so you know, I think it's good for people to hear that you may have trained 6 NFR qualifiers and you may have won over $2 million running barrels, and you can still doubt yourself. And I try to believe in my training, but a great horse will kind of cover up for my insecurities sometimes.
I mean, that's everybody, and I think the main thing that I've heard from a lot of the guests on the show so far this week is just being grateful, because you never know when that blessing will no longer be there, because nothing is permanent. So definitely always be grateful, but you definitely have this huge talent, and you do need to know that for sure. And I would ride behind you any day, hopefully someday soon.
Well, thank you. You know, and it is. I am grateful that the kind of horses that those great horses. I mean, and the reality of it is, yes, you do contribute to them to being great, but great ones are great. They are great. I mean, and I joke, it's a joke that I always said, about every 3 years, God looks down at you and goes, I'm going to give you one more because I can tell you're fixed to quit. So, you know, I've always been aware of the fact that those great animals, that God just blessed me with them, and it was my responsibility to be a good steward of them. And I hope I've always done that. And that is part of the reason that I came home, you know, in the top 20 in the world, was I wanted to be a good steward of one of the biggest blessings God's ever given me outside of my family.
Wow. Kimmi, speaking of that and her coming home, I know that you were definitely one of those phone calls.
Yes.
What does it take specifically to keep a horse sound on the road to the NFR all year?
So that was a tough call, I know, when she made it. I was I was the second person that she talked to about it. Braden was the first. And her and I had that conversation when Vanilla Wafer was a 3-year-old, and he was already showing what I say the superstars. You know, he already had it. You could watch it. He just had it. And we had that talk though. And when she had started rodeoing on him, she said, if there's ever a point that you feel that he's not right, and she's like, and I haven't stepped up about it, she's like, you need to jerk a knot at me. And we'd had that talk. You know, it was like, it already was put out there that, you know, he had a greater purpose, and it was to be a stallion and to make the industry a whole new line. And that's what I felt his purpose now is. Watching these horses going up and down the road, your farrier is probably, aside from a vet, and most of my vets that I work for, I'm sorry, but I would say farrier is probably your #1 deal in this. A good farrier can keep you on the road, and a bad farrier can end your horse's career. I have several horses out of our family that my nephew's Caleb Schmidt. You guys have all watched his great calf horse over the years. He would not have made all those NFR trips if it wouldn't have been for Randy Eastep back home in Belleville, Texas, keeping him sound. You know, so there's a lot of that people don't know, the behind the scenes. And like I've always said, with Braden being her shoer, you know, her son, a good horse shoer is probably the most important thing on being on the road, and that's the hardest thing for us when we're on the road, whether we're hauling fraternity horses or rodeo horses, or even our, you know, my kids cut and team rope and everything. If you don't find out on the road a good shoer, that's going to end that horse's time out there on the road. You end up lined up with the wrong horse shoer, and he quicks him, or he puts. What people don't realize, a lot of these pro rodeos, we change out the nails. When we go to Pendleton, we put what they call an ice nail in. Well, in between Pendleton and stuff, you might have to go to another rodeo. So we might literally pull that ice nail out. So you've got, you know, on a horse, you might have, you know, in one foot, you'll have 3. Usually we won't put more than 3 ice nails on each side, inside and out, so 6 nails. And then we're going to switch back into our regular, what we call a lot of times on the barrel horses, a little racetrack one. And you switch those out. Well, what if that guy that drives that, you know, drives it a little too high, and then you abscess, and then that horse is down? Or what if he turns down and drives it into the line? You know, so keeping the good shoers, getting to know who your vets are, but most importantly, knowing your horse inside and out.
What do you think about vet hopping?
Okay, so
Okay, what that means is I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico, but I'm in Ellensburg, Washington, and it's time for my horse's injections.
So the great vets all know each other, and I'm going to say that. I can call Dr. Hans or we can call Randy. They've got guys that they went to school with that are in California or in Idaho and stuff. I firmly believe that you need to have a vet that has a very open communication, that is not an egomaniac. You need to have somebody on your team that's not afraid to talk to a vet. If you're sitting in Washington and he's in Texas, he needs to be able to say, hey, no problem, this is what I normally inject. Hey, this is what, and that vet that's seeing the horse go, hey, this is what I'm seeing, and I'm seeing that this horse is carrying fluid in the stifle. I know you say that horse never needs his stifles injected. So when I say that your vet needs to have a non-maniac attitude as far as ego, it does. They need to be very open, and they need to have an open line of communication. Vet hopping, it's going to happen if you're on the road. There's no way that we can get Randy always out every place that we need, or Dr. Hannes or Marty Tanner. I know right now, like when we came out to Vegas last year, I already had it lined up because Randy wasn't coming out for the whole time, so I made sure that we had Marty Tanner on board and Cody Johnson, because we wanted them to already know, hey, you're going to be my go-to guy. Randy's not coming out to this date, and Randy knew that Marty and Cody were going to be here, so he could reach out and say, hey, if there's anything on that stud, this is, his normal stuff. The stud doesn't run on any drugs, so it wasn't that hard for us to manage him out here. But there's horses out here that do run on other stuff. They have to be at the vet tent at a certain set hour. Everything out here is scripted. Everything has to be wrote down in a protocol book. All the vets that are on site right now, they're doing a very, very strict regulatory of all the horses and there's already actually a horse that ran fever the very first day. They quarantined that horse. All the horses are on site, but they did remove that horse, and that horse will now have to stay in vet clinic out here quarantined.
Wow, and I was worried about that because, you just never know. And how many horses are at the NFR right now? Is it 200-300?
Yeah, they've got close to 300 because all the backup horses were having to stay. This is the first year that it's ever been that all the horses had to stay on site. Last year with Vanilla Wafer, it was kind of funny because Braden and I we had a location that a friend of ours that I went to college with way out on the other side of Las Vegas. We kept the stud. He got to hang out with chickens, and literally he had pigeons and chickens that were in his pen every day, and he'd lay down and would be sunning himself, and there'd be a pigeon sitting on his shoulder, and there'd be chickens over there scratching, and he just had his own private pen. If you understand that when they're having to be housed right there at the Thomas and Mack, they're in a 10 by 10. That's tough on a horse for that amount of days. So this year, the caretakers that are out there, because you guys got to understand, these guys, when they're out here, they've got so many engagements that they've got to be at that their contract, it has to hold them to. So you've got to have a staff out here fully that's taking care, and that could be 3-4 people. Those horses are going to get out, walk 3-4 times a day. They're hand grazing, but now adding the fact that everybody's in a quarantine area, and they've basically built quarantine areas of locations of where you came from. So all the behind the scenes this year has been over what we've ever had to experience in the past. And the stress level is there. It doesn't matter if it's the contestant, the caretakers, the people on site. There's a lot of stress that goes on behind the scenes right now.
I wanted to touch on that for a second. It's easy to sit over here at the Rio and watch the barrel race on TV and be able to say, well, I would have. I crawled up in the chair last night watching it at South Point. I was definitely helping people get around some turns, but with things being different this year, cut them girls some slack. Those horses most of them are not used to being caged up in a 10-by-10 stall. Even when we're rodeoing, they're not used to that. And so those horses are out of a routine that they're normally in when we're out here. And I can promise you nothing hurts your feelings more than for somebody to walk up and go, "You're really messing up my fantasy rodeo team." And you're like, "I am so sorry," because that was my plan. But and in all the events, I mean, cut them some slack. Like, the stress level this year has been through the roof. I mean, people were trying to decide at the last minute, look, am I taking my A team? Am I not taking my A team? That's not something you want to be worrying about 24 hours, 72 hours before the first round at the NFR. So, whatever event it might be, cut them a little slack this year. I mean, everybody's doing the best they can, and there's horses that can't be here, and there's horses that people are, you know, they've never had to keep them in stalls out here. So, you know, it's a long 10 days. I wish it was actually only 10 days, but with everything that goes on, it's a lot more. But it's a lot, and it really, my heart breaks anytime I see something on Facebook that is derogatory, because, and I mean, nobody's got to run barrels now in a while. So those horses that, like my horse needed runs, and he wouldn't have got, what she was sore last year, he wouldn't have got to make those runs, and that's hard. I mean, it's hard on a horse that, Haley, I thought rode Sister amazing the first night, but that mare was so barrel fresh. Yeah. It was fun to watch her be that barrel fresh. You know, you could see her come to the gate. She was like, "I see it." And so, you know, I just want people to understand that we are human. All those people out there are human.
Yeah, everybody. I mean, and that's why we have you guys on the show, is to humanize you and hear from you. And, you know, if you can do it, that, you know, the next person out here in the Rio can do it too. You know, especially, and if you're nervous or your confidence is down, but you've succeeded to the level you've succeeded, then that might build somebody else's confidence up and be like, you know what, it's okay. It's okay. You know, everybody kind of feels like this. We just got to keep going and work on being fearless. And on that note, before we close, what would be the legacy that you want to leave behind in the rodeo world or the equestrian world, Latricia?
I didn't even know when, like, this was never my dream. Not because I didn't know it could be a dream. I grew up showing lambs and calves, and I rode some, and then people would send me horses. I didn't know people made a living training horses. I did not even know that futurities existed until 1999, which, if you know how long I've been, like, what I've done in the past, that's kind of crazy. I bought and sold Selborn horses and started on the barrels. But everything I ever learned was because somebody was willing to help me. I'm not the kid that grew up with a rodeo family. My parents ranched, but so we weren't extremely wealthy. Until I was probably in my 30s, the most expensive horse I ever rode cost $2,500. So everything I couldn't afford to pay to go take lessons or those kind of things. So everything I ever learned was because somebody helped me. And at that time, you didn't really have access like you do now on the internet to things. And I mean, those guys, Troy Crumrine, Cody Bowserman, like the old school, Chris Coffey, those people are the ones that they would help me for free. And I can say at this point in my life, of all the lessons I've given, I've never charged for a lesson.
Oh, wow. Wow. And that is a wonderful legacy to leave behind, where you are just willing to give somebody your knowledge because you want to see their dreams come true as well.
I think is a great thing when them people have gotten lucky and they've had success, when they're willing to share that with other people. And that's important to me. And when I'm done, I want to leave the sport better than I found it. And I want to leave it, I think it's important that we leave it as a classy, first class, elite thing. And I believe in the sport, and I believe in the people that are in it, and I think rodeo people are the best people in the world.
Well, I do too, thank you. Kimmi, you're not just a coach and a rehab specialist for equines. You're also, what it sounds like, is coaching all of us while you help us through all the traumatic experiences, as well as through all the highs of actually qualifying for the NFR, winning Calgary, stuff like that. What do you tell your clients when they need to ride fearless?
The biggest thing I tell everybody is just leave it there in the arena. You don't have to take it home with you. And if there's anything that I've tried to push on my friends, and when you were little, I still remember the first year you were making the finals. I mean, you were on the bubble bad. I mean, that was another. I was fixing to be in a rig heading out. I mean, like literally had horses ready and loaded, and we were waiting. Her mom called me and said, "She's in. She wanted up."
$200.
And I got to turn around, and I didn't have to go to the next few rodeos, and you were going to fly into. But you got to just leave it there. Latricia was disappointed this year. I know her heart was broke. She did. She cried the whole way home. I cried with her.
Well, that's what makes your guys' relationship so special. And if you guys didn't hear them before, no one ever does it alone. That's for sure.
And when we have the losses, you guys are going to have the great horses come along. You guys are going to have the ones that don't make, or something happens. We've all experienced those big losses. Just know, put yourself in a village that supports you 100% and has your back 100%.
That's a wrap for the show today, you guys. I sure hope that you feel inspired and motivated to ride fearless. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you. Sorry I was late. We were riding fearless here. I'm not even kidding. And I'm looking at his fucking Can I get a picture of all of y'all?
Yeah.